What's up, YouTube? We watching players who weren't supposed to make the NBA. God damn, how long that bro been fucking reffing for? Let's get it. Shout out Kobe.
People have played at least one NBA game. In all 77 years of NBA history, less than 5,000 players have ever suited up in an NBA jersey. More people have climbed Mount Everest, 6,338, or been struck by lightning than there are NBA players. So it's safe to say
no wonder I didn't make
that making it to the NBA is one of the hardest things to do. But there are some players whose road to the league is so unbelievably tough that making it to the NBA was an absolute miracle. When Jimmy Butler was just 13 years old, his mother kicked him out of the house. "I don't like the look of you. You gotta go." Those were the last words Butler heard from his mother before he became homeless. And over the next few years, Jimmy wandered the streets, couch surfed in countless houses, and played basketball. After a three-point shooting competition against a ninth-grade football player named Jordan Leslie, the two became best friends, and Jordan invited Jimmy to stay at his house. But Jordan's mom, Michelle Lambert, wasn't too happy about Jimmy staying over. She had 7 kids, so money and living space in her house were pretty tight. However, all her kids loved Jimmy, so soon he moved in permanently and became a member of the family. With newfound stability, Butler could focus all his energy on basketball. But to say that he was highly recruited would be a lie, because his only option was to play at junior community college, where scouts don't go unless somebody starts putting up 30 points per game. And Jimmy knew that. So that's precisely what he did. After dominating his freshman season, Butler had offers from 6 Division I colleges. He chose Marquette, and he sent the letter of intent from the local McDonald's. Still, the road to the NBA wasn't certain, and it took Jimmy 3 years at Marquette to finally work his way onto the NBA radar. Then, finally, after life as an outsider, Jimmy made it as the 30th pick in the 2011 NBA draft. But while Jimmy went from homeless to the NBA, this next superstar made it after nearly starving to death.
Watching them playing, coming to NBA, moving all around the world, championship and everything, then I was saying this is going to take us to a greater place in the future.
See, back in 2007,
he looked just like his mama, bro.
It's going to
Giannis,
take
you
us
look
to
just like your mama, gang. Blessings. Giannis, congrats on your ring, man.
a greater place.
Shout out Mama
See,
Giannis,
back in
man.
2007, Giannis Antetokounmpo was selling fake sunglasses on the streets of Athens in
Mama
Greece.
Giannis,
And if
man.
anybody told you that he was going to become the
wonder
NBA
he was crying when
MVP,
he
you'd
won
laugh in
that
their
shit.
face. Giannis would laugh too, because after all, he didn't even play basketball. At the time, Giannis was a skinny 13-year-old who only ate once a day, sometimes twice, if he managed to sell enough sunglasses. But when a basketball coach named Spiros
So
Valeniadis
niggas be flexing that shit that niggas only eat one day. Like, bro, I ate one time a day for a long time, bro. But I feel like my body's still fucked. Like, that's why people be telling me I need to fix my body and shit, because I really do. I need to find a way to muscle up and shit.
saw his long arms and legs, there was no doubt in his mind that he was looking at a future basketball superstar. However,
Giannis.
getting discovered was
Giannis.
just the beginning of Giannis's tough journey. Because Giannis didn't have much to eat, he was selling
Giannis.
trinkets on the streets until he was 17, playing in the same pair of socks and shoes that he shared with his brother. And even after 5 years of walking more than an hour to each practice and often sleeping in the gym, Giannis was still a malnourished, skinny kid and a virtual nobody who played in the third-tier Greek league. But then, in 2012, Giannis's life was about to change because he finally had an agent. And in 2013, the NBA scouts would discover that long name they couldn't pronounce. Then, a few months later, against all odds, NBA Commissioner David Stern managed to pronounce it correctly.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
But 2 years before Giannis got drafted, another player with an unusual name came to the NBA, traumatized by a tragic family story. It was Kawhi Leonard, who could have chosen a career in the NFL or easily quit sports altogether.
I was the first nigga telling niggas Kawhi was next. Kawhi probably knows. I used to be when everybody was still stuck on the Lakers being shitty. I was right there supporting the Spurs because I knew greatness. I knew Kawhi was gonna be great. I just never knew he was from the West Side though. I didn't think he was from the West Side. till Barada said, "Oh yeah, Kawhi went to San Diego State." I was like, "What the fuck?" It really is a small world, bro. Cause like Kawhi really just went to school next to us and shit. Like that's cool as fuck, bro. That's how you know Kawhi built like us, little cool ass kid, bro. Shout out Kawhi Leonard, man. That's my boy.
Because his parents were divorced.
He the reason I don't disrespect the Clippers no more, for real. Fucking little Jit. That little Jit's a smart ass boy, bro. He went to the Clippers. He like, if I go to Clippers, Ricky not gonna hate on him. And he right, bro. I can't hate on him no more, bro. Niggas got Kawhi, bro. That's like my second Kobe, for real.
And his mom couldn't take him to basketball practice. Kawhi couldn't play basketball as a high school freshman. His father, Mark, wanted him to play only football. But Kawhi's love for the game of basketball was stronger than anything. However, just 2 years later, this love almost died with the sound of a gunshot. Kawhi was on his way to a basketball game when he got the call. As Mark Leonard was closing up his car wash, a stranger pulled up and fired numerous shots at Kawhi's dad, killing him on the spot. Emotionally shattered, Kawhi changed that day and became a closed-off, introverted person that rarely talks. And while most people would quit basketball or at least take a break, Kawhi is built different. Because just 24 hours after the death of his father, Kawhi suited up to play a game in his honor. And he had a very good game, finishing with 17 points. But as soon as the game ended, Kawhi broke down crying in his mother's arms. After his father's death, Kawhi worked out harder than ever. And despite being only the 48th ranked player in the country, he received a scholarship to San Diego State, where he continued to hustle, coining a famous phrase about rebounding: bored man gets paid. Even though his behavior and his movements were robotic, the NBA scouts were drooling at his physical attributes: extremely long arms and gigantic hands. So, after years of sacrifice, he finally got drafted and made his father proud. But the 2011 draft had another player who succeeded against all odds. And unlike Kawhi,
shout out Kawhi, man. I fucks with you, Kawhi, for real. I stand with Kawhi, bro. He's lit.
Isaiah Thomas never had anyone drooling over his size. Okay, maybe he did, but that's personal. And we're going to stick to basketball here. Isaiah was a basketball fanatic all his life, but he always was the smallest player on every court. As a high school freshman, he stood just 5'3". So everywhere he went, they told him that he wouldn't make it. Even his parents tried to push him away from basketball, saying he was wasting his time. But a few hard fouls were doing nothing to Isaiah.
Bro, Isaiah was 5'3" going for the fucking NBA, bro. I literally should have took the risk, bro. God really gave me the chance too, bro. I literally had that 1 year that everybody wanted me to play basketball, bro. I should have fucking took that leap, bro. I was just too fucking scared. I should have took that leap that year when everybody was begging me to get on that fucking basketball team, man. Everybody at Jordan was literally begging me to get on that team, man. I should have just joined, bro. I probably would have been in the league dropping off LeBron. But my little fucking broken heart couldn't. I just couldn't. My little broken heart. That's why I'm trying to be here and just save all the broken hearts. But it's harder than it looks, man. We just gotta all pray for God, for real.
His self-belief. He'd always pick himself up and continue playing. Still, he was so desperate to grow that he even bought a machine that stretched him out, and another one where he'd hang upside down. However, the results were mediocre. Isaiah did eventually grow to 5'9", and while he was a standout high school player, nobody believed that he'd make the NBA. Except him. All the trash talk and naysayers kept him in the gym and made him work even harder. And after several March Madness appearances at the University of Washington, Thomas declared for the 2011 draft, where he was selected last. When he got drafted, IT was interviewed by just one reporter, as everyone believed Thomas would be just a fun little draft story that nobody's going to remember in 3 years. But just like he did all his life, IT proved everyone wrong. And 3 years later, he was averaging 20 points per game for the Kings. Then 3 years after that, he averaged 29 and made the second-team All-NBA, becoming the shortest player ever with that honor. And compared to Isaiah, this next point guard had excellent size, strength, and athleticism. But his problem wasn't physical, it was mental. He was so problematic that they called him Crazy J. His real name was John Wall, and he had one of the most unbelievable roads to the NBA. See, John grew up without a father, who was serving time in prison for second-degree murder. When John was 9, his father was released because he had a terminal illness. But 1 month later, just as John started to love having his father back in his life, he passed away, right in front of him. This filled John with anger and rage, and he became a wild child. So he began committing petty crimes. And by the time he turned 13, he graduated to stealing cars. Wall was a super talented basketball player, and it was his only hope of staying out of jail. But because of his temper, he got kicked off of every team he played for. As a high school junior, John had already changed schools 3 times because of his foul mouth and cussing out coaches. But then, one moment changed his life forever.
Damn, so me and John Wall the same. I never cussed out my coach, but I just always yell at my coach, telling him to put me in, for real. I know that's against the rules, for real. You're not supposed to yell at your coach. I was a fucking little stupid ass jit, for real. Now that I remember it, like, there's probably a lot of reasons why I didn't go pro, for real. It's not even just one. It's like so many. I was just so blinded by my skill that I just never made it, for real.
His mother spent her last dollar to buy John new basketball shoes and send him to an AAU tournament. As a result, she couldn't pay for electricity, and the whole family was in the dark for a few days just so he could play basketball. But her sacrifice finally knocked some sense into John, who vowed to take basketball seriously. Crazy J was gone, and John started playing with much more discipline. As a senior, he averaged 20 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds per game, and was ranked as the #1 player in the country. However, despite his success, it was hard for him to get rid of old habits. Wall and his friend were charged with breaking into an abandoned home during his senior year, and Wall avoided prison because it was his first recorded felony. And thanks to his immense talent, Wall was still able to get a scholarship, and he joined Kentucky with DeMarcus Cousins, Eric Bledsoe, and Patrick Patterson. Wall led the Wildcats in scoring and assists, averaging 16 and 6 with 2 steals. And even though they lost in the Elite 8, John was still considered the most talented collegiate player, and was selected first overall in the 2010 draft by the Washington Wizards. And in that same draft, there was another talented point guard who hoped to get drafted, but it never happened. And a lot of it had to do with his ethnicity. He was Asian, and he played at Harvard.
I was born the middle child of Asian immigrants. I graduated from Harvard with a major in economics and a minor in sociology.
Now, Asian kids from Harvard usually have a lot of job opportunities, but not as a player in the NBA. And Jeremy Lin wanted to break that mold. After he was one of the best high school players in California, Lin didn't get a single Division I offer.
That's why Kobe hated Jeremy Lin, bro. You don't use your race as an excuse, Jeremy. That's not a fucking excuse, bro. I'm Asian, like, come on, bro. That's not a fucking excuse, bro. That's not an excuse, gang. That's why Kobe hated your ass, bro. Just cause you're Asian don't mean shit, my nigga. It really don't. That ass, we all come from a fucking JJ. Come on.
So he went to Harvard, where he dominated again, averaging 17 points and 5 assists with excellent shooting splits. But during the draft process, he was stereotyped again, and nobody wanted to draft a skinny Asian point guard. Lin eventually signed with the Warriors.
You fucking play for Harvard, man. It's fucking Harvard, gang. Who the fuck gonna draft a guy from Harvard? Nobody want a guy from Harvard, boy. That's literally the nerd school, gang. That's where the nerds go. That's where the nerds go.
As an undrafted player, but still, he barely got any playing time and was soon cut. So he took his chances with the Rockets.
He was nice for like
but it was more of the same,
bro.
and it seemed like Lin's NBA story was over until it happened. In 2012, the Knicks were plagued by injuries, and especially thin at that point guard spot. So Lin got one more chance, and he erupted for 25 points and 7 assists. In the next game, he had 28 and 8, and the game after that, 23 and 10. Then came the game against Kobe and the Lakers, where Lin scored 38 points. After which, he became the biggest sports story in America. Lin's sanity was born, and Jeremy became one of the most popular athletes on the planet, just 2 weeks after he slept on a friend's couch and feared getting cut from the NBA. But while Lin's basketball story was full of ups and downs, Dwayne Wade's whole life was full of ups and downs.
So that's why Jeremy Lin got his shit sucked that 1 year, huh? Everybody was sucking his shit. Because he fucking went from Harvard to the NBA. And he got pressed by Kobe, though. That's how I know you. You got pressed by Kobe.
And the ups weren't so frequent. Dwayne's mother was a drug addict, and he spent his early life in close vicinity to bags and needles. Police breaking into his home and taking his mom away was a common occurrence for Dwayne, and it wasn't surprising that his mom lost custody. At the age of 8, Wade moved in with his father, but life didn't get much better because his dad lived in one of the most dangerous Chicago neighborhoods. So he was forced to live in constant fear of guns and violence, and the only refuge he had was basketball. Still, despite his talent, Wade struggled at school and wasn't getting any scholarships.
That's what makes fucking Michael Jordan so great. Like, bro, he literally got 6 rings in Chicago, gang. Like, Chicago, bro. He got 6 rings in Chicago, bro. That's probably why he fucking took a break one year. Like, he was probably like, man, I'm in Chicago, man. I'm gonna take a break of this shit. Like, that ass. I respect Chicago though. Like, shout out to all the Chicago greats, like Chief Keef and and fucking Juice WRLD.
Finally, as a senior, Wade received a scholarship from Marquette, where he blossomed into one of the best shooting guards in the country, and then got selected 5th overall in the famous 2003 NBA draft.
With the 5th pick in the 2003 NBA draft, the Miami Heat select Dwayne Wade from Marquette University.
And there was another guy who was drafted 2 spots ahead of Wade in the 2003 draft who also shared a similar life story. Carmelo Anthony grew up without a father, and at the age of 10, he and his mom moved to Baltimore, one of the most crime-infested cities in the U.S. Due to drugs and street life, Melo lost his first cousin, his stepdad, and many of his friends. So after he got cut from his high school basketball team as a freshman, it looked like Carmelo would follow the same path. But a sudden growth spurt turned Melo into a 6'8" beast, and his basketball skills allowed him to transfer to Oak Hill Academy, away from all the troubles in Baltimore. There he became one of the highest-ranked players in the country, later an NCAA champion with Syracuse, and the 3rd overall pick in the 2003 draft.
That sucks that that's the only chip champion he got, man. I wish I could have saw Melo get a ring, bro. Like, LeBron should have at least kept him in the Lakers, just made him a spot-up shooter, but... Like, shout out Melo, bro. I respect Melo, for real. Like, and now, this was before Clark, too. Like, before I even knew Clark, I was fucking with Melo. This was early, too. This is like before I even knew Kobe. Like, before I even knew Kobe and shit, I was fucking with Melo and the Nuggets. I was, bro. I like that J.R. Swish, AI, and Melo team. That shit went crazy, bro. That shit was legendary. Do your research on that team, bro. That shit was sick. Even though they didn't win shit, that was a sick-ass team, bro.
With Syracuse, and the 3rd overall pick in the 2003 draft. But if making it to the NBA is hard for Americans, it's 10 times harder to do if you're born in Africa, which has poor basketball infrastructure and little basketball history. While there were some famous basketball players from Africa, like Hakeem, Manute Bol, or Dikembe Mutombo, they were the exception and not the norm. When Joel Embiid was 16 years old, he was already a 7-footer. But he was tall for nothing, because he had never played basketball in his life. And then, because of his height, Joel got invited to the basketball camp of Luke Mba Amute, who was a
over there, bro. Put in the comments, please, bro. How the fuck you fucking 7 feet at 16, bro? I'm finna go SMB, bro. What the fuck was you eating, bro? Dead ass, B. What the?
Second-year player for the Bucks. But to say that Embiid was good would be a lie, and to say that he was bad would be an
If I was 7 feet at 16, bro, I'd not be rapping, bro. I'd be in the league right now. I'd be teaming up with LeBron right now, winning a fucking ring, bro. Dead ass, man. Shout out anybody blessed with it. God-gifted talent, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Keep doing y'all thing for real. I appreciate everyone, man. I hope y'all have a great 2024. I can't wait to find out who wins the NBA title, man. Let's go Lakers, man.
Their statement. Joel was flat out terrible, but Luke didn't want to give up on him. So he sent Joel to Florida to pop.
Am I tripping, or does he look like me? My little young Joel, does he look like me? Am I tripping? I might be tripping, but I feel like he look like me right here.
Polish his basketball skills, but when Embiid got there, he was mocked by his teammates for a complete lack of basketball fundamentals. After a few months, Embiid was kicked off the team, and it seemed like his basketball journey was over. However, this only made him work harder. And in a few years, Joel started dominating and got a scholarship to Kansas. And some 13 years after he first touched a basketball, Embiid became the NBA MVP and one of the most skilled big men in basketball history.
Joel, nice. I've been knew he was gonna get an MVP, bro.